What's going on, everyone? Jackson here from Vendetta Sports Media, back again with another episode in our NBA season preview series for the 2021-2022 season. We are dissecting every single NBA team and giving you our expert analysis on them. Once again, joined by the Chickster himself, and he's one of the cutest babies I've ever seen in my life. Just chilling back there, just having the time of their life.
She's just getting all knowledge right now.
Yeah, she's just absorbing it all in. You know how
it.
it's like you're supposed to play like Beethoven and stuff, like when they're like in the womb and when they're young.
Oh yeah,
So
no, it's sports.
yeah, just nothing but sports all the time for her. So she grows up and she can be the female version of Woj when she gets into her 20s and everything. But anyway,
imagine, hell yeah, I'm with it.
But we are going over Chick's
Okay.
team. Here we are going to talk about the San Antonio Spurs, one of the powerhouses. I feel like was always in contention for a title every single year during my lifetime. Even when they weren't the number one seed, it was like, man, it's the San Antonio Spurs. You gotta worry about them. Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili. And then as they start going on the outs, you're thinking, oh, the empire's about to fall. Here comes Kawhi Leonard, and they end up winning another title, and they get to another finals, and it's like they're still relevant again. It was always frustrating as a fan of a Western Conference opponent.
I feel that.
But Alex, why don't you go ahead? Tell me what happened last season with your Spurs. How did they finish out west?
So they didn't. I mean, like they were in the play game, which I was expecting. And I actually wish I might have to pick up my baby here. We'll figure it out if she keeps fussing. But I kind of expect that going into the season. I actually wish they played more of this young talent. Like as a Spurs fan, and you kind of alluded to this, like, we've always been a big powerhouse. We've always been like, and I knew the time was ending. Like I came to peace with that. I was cool with that. As you remember, I was telling them, trade LaMarcus Aldridge, trade DeMar DeRozan, fully commit to this young team, let them grow as basketball players under Greg Popovich. And I consider him one of the best, if not the best, coach of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I mean, like, let them progress. So they were in the play game, and that was where I kind of expected them to be. So they didn't really. I think they met expectations. I think no one was really expecting a lot from DeMar DeRozan anymore, as far as not him himself, but the team. Like, there's just a lot of team. Like, they needed to progress. They weren't there yet. I think people could see that the Spurs had some decent pieces, but they're not near their potential. I feel like. So I feel like it was. I think it was it was a decent year, met expectations for sure.
Yeah, as I said in a previous episode, I'm all about good basketball. I'm all about not hanging on too late, especially to veteran players. You got to get. It's just the smart thing to do. When you got a young core, you got two aging veterans. You need to try to get rid of the veterans. Even if it's just like a couple second round picks, even if it's 1 second round pick, like, get some type of value out of them, and then fully commit to this young core. Because if not, you're just kind of putting off the inevitable, and you're putting yourself behind. Basically,
you're putting yourself in a hole.
Yeah, you are, and you're really banking on the lottery, like, really turning in your favor. Like, honestly, a couple years ago when New Orleans got the first pick and Memphis got the second pick, that was the two biggest leaps I've ever seen of two organizations that were like they were like either just in or outside the top 10, and both teams leapfrogged up. Like, they had single digit % chances to land where they landed, and both landed. But that's an outlier. You can't always expect that to happen. The Spurs can't commit to trying to get into the play-in, miss the play-in, get a lottery pick, and then jump up to a top 5 pick, because that's awful. You either do it with your young core and succeed with your young core and continue to build upon that, or you just try to find the one or two guys that you like and then whatever happens. You take your lottery pick, you draft a really good player coming out of college, and you just keep trying to hammer away and rebuild. But
Right.
um, so off season recap. Did the Spurs make any major changes? We've mentioned that Aldridge is no longer there. DeRozan's moved on. He's in Chicago now. Did the Spurs really bring anybody in that's worthy of noting?
They
I know they brought your boy back, Brian Forbes. He's back, right?
I'm not talking about Bryn Forbes. Fuck that guy. I'll tell you another thing that I really kind of didn't like about their offseason, and it had to do with free agency. They signed Doug McDermott, and I hated his contract. I think that was like $18 million a year, and I was like, that is not the contract to give. Oh, don't you cry right now, girl. You're all right. I know. I didn't like the contract either.
Yeah,
but
obviously
no,
she didn't like it either because she's
no, and she wasn't even born when it happened. But she knew. She knew.
It's the
she heard me talking
repercussions.
about it.
They cross
some people
generations.
handle it.
That's like how my son will be depressed one day, and I'm gonna be like, "Son, why are you upset?" And he's like, "Why did we sign Chandler Parsons?" That's what he's gonna be.
Don't go down that hole. Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Son, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that, son.
But when we traded I think we traded DeMar DeRozan, I believe. We got Thad Young out of it, and he's not horrible. It's just it's Thad Young. Like I said, I think they've fully committed to the young talent, and I'm with it. I think Zach Collins, very low risk, high reward player. I was happy with the play. Other than that, there's not like names that you're like, oh my God, the Spurs got this guy, and I'm okay with that. They did have a lot of free agency money to play with, and I'm kind of disappointed they didn't get some bigger names. But I don't know. At the same time, it wasn't. I don't know. Like we kind of just said, you don't want to like buy players that you don't think is going to be win now. Right now, I don't think this is a win now San Antonio Spurs team. This is a very development year for the Spurs, and I don't hate it. So
yeah. So out of this extremely young roster, I'll ask you these questions back to back, and you can roll into them, so that way you can just kind of keep going, because this is your team. This is your moment. This is your moment to shine about them. All right. So first, give me your key player, the player that is central and essential to this team, the growth of this team, and the success or failures of this team. Who is key to that? And then give me your X factor for the Spurs. And again, this could be a player, it could be a potential trade. Whatever you think is important enough to bring up as essential to the Spurs this season. So go ahead and give me both of those, and I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna let you roll.
So as far as the key player, I think it's hard to distinguish between key player and X factor, because sometimes I think they're kind of the same. I think
you can combine the two if you want. Like just run with it, dude. Just run with it.
Shit. So my thing, okay. It's kind of a three-way tie, and I hate to do that because that seems like a cop-out. But the thing about it is with this team, it's hard to distinguish who is going to be the key player. I think there's a key trio. What I'm looking at is DeJounte Murray, of course, point guard. He's really coming into his own, and you could really see that he was kind of shooting more. He was distributing the ball. He looked like he was coming into his own. I'm going to go ahead and say the X factor. Let's just do this. X factor, we'll say, is Derek White. And that's because Derek White was on, and I was really big into Derek White, and I almost fought Dakota Haynes over Derek White. You know what I mean? So I've always been a big Derek White guy, but he was injured a lot of last year, and I thought he was going to be really good. I think people were going to understand who Derek White was more. So I'm going to say he is going to be the X factor. Let's say key player is DeJounte Murray, but I like Keldon Johnson too. I think Keldon Johnson really comes alive. I think Keldon Johnson, he played for the USA team, and everybody loved him. And I mean, he's a real energy guy. And that, for young teams, I feel like that's so important, is to have those young guys, those energy kind of guys that really just kind of energize the team. Like last year, or for most of the time, whenever like the Spurs really kind of needed some like a spark, Patty Mills was that guy.
Yeah. Oh,
This year, I think
Lord, don't get me started on Patty Mills.
Keldon Johnson's that guy. I feel like
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson is that spark. He's gonna bring the energy. He's gonna make the defensive plays and get everyone hyped up. He's gonna make that big dunk, and everyone's like feeding off of that energy. I mean, this guy yells every fucking play. You know what I mean? I think Keldon Johnson really is a key player as far as how energy goes. I feel like for offense and for more basketball mindset, I definitely think DeJounte Murray. You don't like my answers? I'm trying my best here, okay? God, everybody's a critic. But I think DeJounte Murray is definitely, oh my goodness. You're good. You're all right. Anyway, I might have to change it here
No,
in a
you're
sec. But I do feel like DeJounte Murray, as far as basketball goes, can you stop? You're good. I do feel DeJounte Murray for basketball side he is the key player. He's going to make this offense work. And I think a lot of it will, and it's a big thing to ask of him. I mean, I think he was injured one of his first two seasons. Still a young player. Like I said, he is progressing, but to throw it at him, it's going to be hard for him. But he's a key player, and like I said, it's a developmental year, but a lot of how well the Spurs will do will depend on DeJounte Murray. But Keldon Johnson's going to be in that mix, and he's going to hype up every player every step of the way. So that's where I'm going to go with key player and X factor.
Okay, so I'll give you my response, and I'll roll this into the final question to wrap this up.
Cool.
The Grizzlies, again, I keep bringing it up. Have I mentioned before that I'm a Grizzlies fan? I may have brought it up maybe like every episode. I don't know. Maybe not. Well, it's just that's the thing I related to. Okay, but
that's me as a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
No one asked about the Raiders, and I'm just going to bring up the Raiders anyway. You know what
exactly.
I mean? I get you.
Exactly. But I'm bringing them up, and it's because the Spurs and the Grizzlies, now that it is a full 82 game season again, they're going to see each other at least 4 times this year. I say at least 4 because both teams very may well be in the play-in once again. We'll, Alex, you'll give us your predictions and everything what they could be, but like last year, they played each other 4 or 5 times, and it's because not only are they in the same conference in the Western Conference, they're in the same division as well. They are division rivals, so they play each other 4 times a year. And there were times in the past where they would play each other 4 times a year, and then they see each other in the playoffs. So that's 8 times a year that these two teams are playing. So I personally get to see the Spurs team a lot, and what I want to see now is the young trio that you mentioned. I want to see how they respond when they don't have those veterans that they had last season to rely on.
Absolutely.
Because Patty Mills, like you said, he's no longer there to get a bucket. That is one man that has been one of the biggest Grizz killers in the history of this organization, and I am extremely happy that he is gone, and maybe his career is coming to an end. It's nothing personal against Patty Mills. I like Patty Mills. He seems like a great guy. Absolutely balled in the Olympics. Congratulations to him. But then, LaMarcus Aldridge is no longer there. DeMar DeRozan, no longer there. These veterans and veteran presence that they used to have, that they could rely on when the game is getting down to the wire and it's a close game, and they're like, do I want to shoot it? Do I not? I'll give it to DeMar. He'll go get a bucket. Or Patty Mills, he's made 5 threes tonight. He's probably going to get another one because he's feeling himself in the second half. They don't have that there anymore. There's no more safety blanket. They are the safety blanket for this team. Now, how strong it is, we'll have to see. And that's the whole point of a rebuild, is that you've got these guys here. You've invested all this time, effort, money, and training into them. This is where the sausage gets made for the Spurs and for all NBA teams, really. Yeah. So I'm excited to see that. we'll be paying extra close attention. I always pay attention to both teams when I'm watching the Grizzlies play, but we'll definitely be paying close attention to the Spurs. So, Alex, official prediction:
Yes.
your Spurs. How do they finish this season?
So I hate to do this because it's so biased of me. I think they'll be 10th and get to play in the play-in. Like that's they get to play in the play-in.
I mean,
And so I mean it's biased to me, it is. But like
hey,
I'm picking them over the Pelicans, the Kings, the Timberwolves, the Rockets, the Thunder. Like I'm picking them over. Like, and I think the Rockets could be in the mix, but uh, I don't know. Like it's so biased to me to say, hey, yeah, the Spurs, like despite all this, young team, unproven, yeah, they'll get to the play-in. You know what I mean?
but
Like that's very biased to me, but
here's the thing though. They still have Greg Popovich. Okay,
and
coach
see, that's another thing.
coaching highly. I feel like in this era where people really just kind of like a lot of casual people just pay attention to the players alone, and not even just like players as in like an entire team, but just like specifically one player on a certain amount of teams, and anyone that's not them is just garbage and suck. Coaching makes a
Yeah.
big difference because Mike Budenholzer finally woke up and decided to start playing Giannis more than 30 minutes and make changes at halftime, and they won a
Uh
title.
I don't
Somewhat.
know. Jury's still out on Mike Bud. I ain't gonna lie. I'm
Listen,
I'm still out on him. But they
I,
won a
I,
title. I can't say that much.
I know. I'm not saying he did it perfectly. I'm saying that one is larger than zero. I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's fair.
I'll leave it at
Ask
that.
Russell Westbrook.
That is
He's still waiting for one. So
exactly, exactly. Um, but hey, they got an advantage over everyone else, even though others may have better players. Sometimes it's not about having better players. Sometimes it's having the better coaching, better cohesive unit that knows how to play together. In this core, and a lot of these young players, they've been together for a while, so they got the chemistry aspect down. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of our NBA preview series for the 2021 and 22 NBA season. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, then hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever a new episode of these NBA previews, although we're getting close to the end, both in terms of this series and the season finally getting here. We're trying to have these wrapped up as quickly as we can before the season starts. But either way, you'll be notified whenever a new episode drops or new episode of the plethora of content that we have on the YouTube channel. You'll be one of the first ones to know. I'm Jackson Law. He's Alex Chick. We're part of the Vendetta Sports Media crew. We'll see you guys next time.